Every year, Kissel Entertainment has a route that they take a lot of fair rides over the summer, and along that route is at the Kentucky Exposition Center, where they hold the annual Kentucky State Fair. I decided to take a trip to Kentucky State Fair this year in 2023, and boy was it interesting. First of all, the main midway of the fair is what we're reviewing today, and it is literally in the middle of a parking lot. Right behind the parking lot is Kentucky Kingdom, so it almost seems like a waste of land to host a fair right next to a permanent amusement park. But whatever, I don't control it. Anyways, let's get into what the experience was like and what kind of rides you could expect if you were to go to it. Now, while this video is coming out in 2024, I wrote the script in 2023 and visited in 2023, so this is a 2023 review. Let's get right into it. Starting off, the fair has a few ticket options for admission. You can either buy individual tickets, or you can get a wristband to ride unlimited rides. I ended up going up with the wristband, which cost about $35, and would have ended up saving me probably around $15, had I gone with the individual tickets. Each individual ticket was about $1.50, so 10 tickets were $15. Python, the largest roller coaster that the state fair had to offer, was 6 tickets, so it would have cost about $10 to ride, which is a bit expensive. I'd highly recommend investing in the wristband, assuming that you're riding 3 or more rides, as it will save you a little bit of money. Now that you've decided your tickets, it's time to see what rides you have to choose from. I'm not going to go through every ride, but I'm just going to go through a few of the major ones. Orient Express was a very small kiddie coaster, which I rode just for the credit. It was alright. It goes around the layout like 10 times, so it's one of the longest durations of any coaster I've ridden, or at least it felt like it. After the second lap, I was just ready for the ride to be over. Wacky Worm was, well, a Wacky Worm roller coaster. It was quite boring. The ride went around its layout 4 times before coming to a final halt in the station. The drop of the Wacky Worm is trimmed, so it kills the best part of the ride. The biggest roller coaster is Python, which is up in Fari. It's got a good first drop, but the ride was extremely rough. I'll talk more about it in a future review. What about the flat rides? They've got a drop tower, which is the same style of drop tower as Fearfall at Kentucky Kingdom. They've also got a Star Flyer, similar to Skycatcher at Kentucky Kingdom. Most of the flat rides that the Kentucky State Fair has are also in Kentucky Kingdom as the same model. But one of the different flat rides from Kentucky Kingdom, that they have a ride named Alter Ego, which is a ride which is very hard to explain, but I'll show it on the screen. The ride has a very low capacity and had a pretty long line, so I didn't get the opportunity to ride it, but it looked pretty cool. The Kentucky State Fair is one of the most popular annual events in Kentucky, and so you might be wondering about how busy it gets. Before that, I'll tell you that Kentucky State Fair has a fast pass type system, where you'll get immediate access to the rides. And I mean immediate. They'll let all the people in the priority queue get on before letting any people in the standby queue. So if you're in the standby queue and there's a lot of priority guests, you're going to be waiting a while. Anyways, during the day when Kentucky Kingdom is open, I didn't find Kentucky State Fair very busy. I got on every ride in about 5 to 10 minutes, but then after 7:30 p.m., I was waiting about 30 minutes per ride. The ride operations weren't the best, and there was only one ride operator for most rides. The operations were pretty slow, and each cycle of the ride was pretty long, so lines got very long, and felt extremely slow. In the station of the roller coasters, you did not get to choose your own row unless you were the first person to get on the train. I tried to get the back row of every ride. I ended up being successful with that on Wacky Worm and Python. One of the things that I found strange is that on the drop tower, if there wasn't anybody sitting in a seat, the ride operator wouldn't pull that restraint down, and the ride would operate without that restraint being locked. And one of the ride operators actually yelled at me for pulling another restraint down on the drop tower. It was unsettling to see one of the restraints unlocked while going up the drop tower. Anyways, one of the rides is called Matterhorn, but it was extremely loud when you got near it, making a siren noise, and then every cycle of the ride, there would be a loud train horn sound effect. I found it way too loud, and I couldn't hear my dad right next to me shouting right into my ear. So that is way too loud. If you have sensory issues, you'll want to bring earplugs for this ride. Also, a lot of the rides have extremely fast flashing lights, but I don't see any epilepsy warnings around. So prepare for a lot of sensory issues for when you come to the park, especially around Matterhorn with loud noises, and then, again, epilepsy warnings with super fast flashing lights around the park. Now let's talk about food. I did not eat anything at Kentucky State Fair, but they did have a few options. The food stands had very long lines, so I'd highly recommend eating before you arrive. Also, I wouldn't really recommend spending too much time at Kentucky State Fair. Only about 3 or 4 hours, maybe even less. And I'd recommend going to Louisville before or after the State Fair and just visiting Kentucky Kingdom, as you'll probably have a lot more fun and the rides feel a lot more safe. This is all I have to say about the Kentucky State Fair, but would I recommend visiting it? I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you decide to go, I'd highly recommend going during the day, not when it's dark. It gets way too busy at night. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Please subscribe to Stormy Coasters and like this video. Comment below your thoughts on Kentucky State Fair if you've been to it, and have an amazing rest of your day.